if we've been paying attention to the numerous hearings that have been going on around the state about census and the need for redistricting and what are the processes by which we're going to count the people in Illinois in order to determine legislative districts, there's been a lot of talk about the use of the ACS as the means by which we determine those representative districts. Here is an example. Representative Walker's bill is an example of what the ACS was meant to do. It was meant to provide information that communities could use to determine whether or not they needed a new school, whether they needed a firehouse, if they need water and enterprise zones and water districts and things like that. It was never meant to determine how many voters lived in a particular district and where they lived. This is the proper use of the American Community Survey. I want to emphasize the fact that this is the proper use, but it is also the limit that was determined that the ACS was meant to be. It was never meant a catch-all, be-all, count every vote, count every person. Representative Walker, your bill is good, and I'm going to vote for it. I voted for it out of committee. The reason I asked that it be pulled off the consent calendar was to make the point I just made about the American Community Survey, what it was meant to be, what it was meant to do, where it works, and it works here well, but what it is not meant to do, and that is not to determine legislative districts, because we're not talking about enterprise zones and things like that when we're talking about legislative districts. We're talking about the Constitution of the United States and the state of Illinois, where every vote is supposed to count, one person, one vote. Those are different standards, and those standards have to be abided by through the census, not through things like ACS. Representative Walker, your bill is good. I'm going to vote for it, but please understand the limits of what the American Community Survey is meant to serve. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.